Hello, hi folks. We will just give a couple of minutes for others to join. Okay, we are at the top of the hour and let's get started. I am Balabarthi. I'm from the product management team at HYCU. I focus on the Atlassian and the Microsoft business of HYCU. So today we'll be talking about Jira data protection and recovery. So when disruption occurs, hits you, how do you stay protected and immune against those disruptions is what we are going to discuss today. I understand most of the audience present here today are already using Haiku in some form or the other, whether it is to protect your SaaS workloads or Atlassian itself, or for the on-prem workloads. I understand that are familiar with who Haiku are. So without spending a lot of time on introduction, I'll just jump to the topic straight away. But before that, I got to do this because if you're not aware, Haiku has been named as one among the leaders in IDC's SaaS data protection vendor assessment report that for last year. So just wanted to highlight this because Atlassian being one of the top and most critical SaaS workloads of today, I just wanted to highlight this fact that there is clear daylight between Haiku and other vendors in terms of leadership position in this report. And we've also been consistently recognized as a visionary in Gartner's Magic Quadrant for Enterprise Backup and Recovery. And also, we've been recognized by GigaOM as a leader in their market research reports. And so you might have seen this earlier. You might have seen a different version of this diagram earlier if you've been with Haiku, if you've seen Haiku presentations in the past. But what I wanted to highlight is the change that has occurred over the last 5 years. It's drastic, it's unprecedented in every form of the word. So today, if you look at how the data estate has evolved, there are a lot of AI there. There is generative AI and agentic workflows that are just leveraging the data that is present in your applications. And this new stack is still a place where Atlassian is holding the central position, because Confluence and Jira are not just places where work gets tracked anymore. They are increasingly the system of record, as Atlassian calls it, the system of record where AI and agentic AI workflows read from and write to, which puts them at the very close to the center of what a modern tech stack looks like today. So that is why our focus today is on Atlassian and how you can protect and recover Jira, and we'll be looking more into that in the next slides in the next 15 minutes or so. Again, if you're not very familiar with the data protection or the shared responsibility models of SaaS vendors, this is just a template that exists for all vendors. Not going to spend much time on it because this has become pretty much the universal story for all SaaS vendors. Their responsibility is just the uptime, the platform, and ensuring that their service is available at all times. while the data that sits in their platform is completely the responsibility of the customer. So when your data is lost, when your issues, your projects, your users, your app data in Atlassian is lost or corrupted, it's up to the customer to actually go and get them back in a good state. And that responsibility sits with the customer, and that is why we are talking here. We are having this discussion. But Atlassian has provided a native recovery or native data protection capability since last year, if I'm right. So they've been actively working and promoting it, but we got to be transparent about what they do and what they do not do. So they can do a number of things. They can recover recently trashed items if we are still within the retention window, and if the administrator is able to catch the deletion or corruption within the retention window, they can help you with recovering those. And it's not like completely configurable as in the retention window is something at least as of now it's in Atlassian's control, and they can run a full instance restoration from their own dump on request. So there are a number of things that it cannot do, and the most important thing is that it cannot provide granular point in time rollback across all object types that it has, and it cannot really help in a situation when the corruption or deletion has been identified after a long period of time. We often hear from our customers that they identified a disruptive event only after 3 weeks or a few months, and those kind of timelines. The later that the deletion or the corruption is identified, the less Atlassian is going to be able to help you. And again, we most of the situations that we hear from our customers are like the administrators don't really get notifications when something goes wrong, when something gets deleted, when something gets accidentally changed, or any such modifications. The administrators tend to not be aware, and the event itself seems to be discovered only after a very long period of time, which is why the native data protection is still not an ideal situation for a lot of disruptive scenarios and data loss situations. And some of them are listed here. This is again, security measures can be in place, but there are a lot of events that are not in the control of or purview of security. Human errors, for example, like we are all humans and we are bound to make errors, and somebody makes some misconfiguration or some automation rule is misconfigured, or some you ask the AI agent, that is robo, to do something by mistake, and it goes on a mission and gets it done, and within before you realize, you deleted a number of objects or you modified a number of objects. So all these situations are still something that your Atlassian native capabilities is not completely effective against insider attacks. Again, one of them, outages. Nobody is safe against from outages, whether it is Atlassian or any other SaaS vendors. There have been, there will be, and there will continue to be outages, irrespective of who the vendor are. It's just how the world works, right? It's the way of nature. So whether you're protected against outages, if you are dependent on Atlassian's data protection system, is something that you got to ask yourself, because when Atlassian Cloud goes down, and if your backup and data protection strategy is dependent on Atlassian, how effective that strategy is going to be a question mark, definitely. So just wanted to double click on the AI agents part, because Rovo is it's new, it's getting a lot of work done. It's very useful and helpful. What used to take multiple hours can now be done within a matter of minutes. And there is downside to it too, right? Like it's worth a closer look, mainly because of the speed at which it operates, the mission speed at which it operates. A user can delete items, can modify items, but definitely not at the speed of Row. If I'm going to do some deletions or modifications to a number of issues, there are ways for me to do it, but it's going to take much longer time, and it's not going to, the probability of uh, um, uh, a bad event occurring due to a human error is significantly less. The probability is still there, but it's significantly less when you compare it to a bad execution by an AI agent, which is why, and the scope of AI agents like Rovo, it's also kind of, it inherits the same flow as the user. And so all your audit logs and every other place, it's going to look as if the user done it. And then, so there is no real, uh, like question mark is going to come around the time when the event happens. And again, like I mentioned earlier, after a matter of few weeks or a couple of months, you realize that the somebody has done some wrong querying or wrong instructions to Rovo, and it looks legitimate in the audit log, like I told, and the damage surfaces several months after. So what would take a person, a careful person, hours of efforts to do can be done within a matter of seconds with agents like Rovo. And before you realize, you're basically in a point of no return. And that is why these there needs to be extra protection to safeguard your data against these agents. And regulators across the globe are taking a close watch at this, and DORA has been in place in the EU. But even outside of the EU, I always find the regulations that are in EU as good guidelines, good recommendations, or good best practices for the engineering teams outside of EU. Because if you look closely at it, eventually the regulations do catch up. If it exists in EU today, it can come across to other countries, other geographies tomorrow. So it's always a matter of time. So understanding how these regulations, they're not just the EU, but I believe there are regulations in place in Singapore, in Australia, that are aligned with what DORA states regarding ICT data protection. So they eventually tend to land on four pillars, which is one, your knowing where your critical data lives and holding a copy of it that is actually independent from the vendor. Meaning you cannot go and rely on Atlassian Cloud as your production as well as your backup data. That doesn't simply add up in terms of a data protection or a disruption scenario. And recovery and continuity means bringing the data back to a known point in time within a particular target that you've committed to. That is what RTO and RPO is all about. And incident response and testing means that you've proven that the recovery works on a schedule and you're not really assuming it. And lastly, your ability to recover should not depend on the same vendor who your data resides with. That is, in case of Atlassian, if your ability to recover from a disruption is going to be dependent on Atlassian, it's definitely not the right strategy. So this is not definitely a compliance checklist for you to go and check. It is more of an architectural or a strategic checklist. It's making sure that these points are checked will hold you in a good stead in terms of your data protection strategy, and following this across not just Atlassian but other vendors too will definitely help in improving your data protection posture. So the one single thing that controls or addresses all of the four pillars that we just saw is that an offsite copy with bring your own storage. That is what R-Cloud does today. Your backup lands in your storage, as most of you familiar with HYCU already know about this. We do not have our own managed storage. We leverage your storage that you control and you own, and you can control immutability and its air gap nature. And so it is able to survive ransomware and any incident that hits production is not really hitting your backup. And that is definitely the most critical part or the cornerstone of the data protection strategy that you need to have in place today. So we just don't protect an application like I told in the beginning of the slide, Atlassian, beginning of the presentation, Atlassian is the system of work where a lot of AI agents and automation runs today, and a lot of agentic workflows read from and write to Atlassian system of work. And our aim is to keep that system of work safe and immune from disruption and data loss. And it is the same platform that we use to protect every other public cloud or SaaS workloads that we use for Atlassian. We don't believe in having different UI and different interfaces for various SaaS. So your learning curve is minimized. And this is something that we've been doing since a long time, allowing you to pick and choose exactly what what you need to recover, whether it is an issue or an epic or a workflow. You can identify and arrive at the exact item that you can recover. But what's new is this one, the big one, the whole site. So this is a capability that we've added recently to help with DR scenarios. So when your Jira site is broken, or you need to recover your entire site to a new site because of whatever reason, because of a failed delete or a mass failed migration or ransomware attacks, what we can do, what our cloud can do today is recover the entire site to a separate new destination. And all this happens in a single operation, and your new site is going to be operational from the word go. Right after the recovery is complete, you can go to the new site and start using it. So that is what DR is all about, right? So all your projects are wired back into their configuration, and all your cross project links and references are back in place, and it's basically ready to run. We'll see how to do that in a couple of minutes. And the other thing that we wanted to highlight was this, like when an outage happens, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. When an outage happens, what if Atlassian goes down for 7 days, or what if Atlassian goes down for 10 days, or what if even for 2 or 3 days, let's say it goes down. And if your users are signed out of Atlassian on Jira and Confluence, and you're not able to access the data within Jira and Confluence, then what's the point of having a backup? That was a thought process when we came up with this idea. So you should be able to build or have the read-only access to your data, even if the Atlassian cloud is down. That is the what we are trying to help our customers do today. So when Atlassian cloud goes down, you use the backup copies that are in our cloud, that actually sit in your storage, and you leverage our cloud to build an independent local copy of your Jira and Confluence. And your users can just go there and see what's there, just like they would actually see in Confluence or Jira. And again, I'll be showing how this looks like in a couple of minutes. Okay, now I'll share my screen. So I wanted to walk you through how to actually set up the DR process, how easy it is for you to have a DR plan in place, and when things go south, you are able to recover your entire Jira site. So I'm not going to spend much time on how do you configure and assign policies and have configure targets and protect your SaaS, because I believe all the audience who are present here have used HYCU's UI in the past and are familiar with this process of adding an application, assigning the policies, creating, configuring targets, and then making sure that the source that you configured is protected. So I'll just show how this DR configuration works today. So this is the sources. No, this is sources. I'm trying to land just on Jira software. So the DR plan is actually currently feasible only in Jira. We are trying to expand it to other Atlassian and other SaaS workloads as well. But these are the prerequisites. You have to have your Jira configured, and all your entities must have a valid backup. So once you have that, and you click see this restore plan and restore source are currently grayed out, but once you select, this becomes available. So the first step in creating a restore plan, which is essentially the DR plan, is you want to create a new restore plan. These are the list of available restore plans. So I want to create a new restore plan if I'm doing this for the first time. So it's just a simple process of filling up this dialog box with which includes certain details. Let's walk through them. So I give a name, I give a description. Note this toggle. This toggle is essentially making sure that all the entities that you add after the configuration of this restoration plan is actually included as part of the restore plan. Like if you want to use this plan, if you want to put this into action after a month's time, if you have this toggle off, it's not going to add any of the data that you added after today, after the point in time at which you created this restore plan. But if you have this toggle on, the whenever the recovery is done, you're automatically going to include all the data that have been included between now and the recovery process as well. And if you're using your own data mover configuration and have decided to not use the HYCU's managed compute, for some reason you can have this toggle on. For this, I'll have this toggle off. So shared storage target, this is something that is different from the backup target, because this does a very important job in this scenario. What it does is it creates something called a mapping file. So a mapping file is where invariably when you move around or recover objects, whether any work item in Atlassian, the object IDs are going to change. And so when you recover a Jira site to a completely new destination, to a new site, all your object IDs are going to be changed. And if we just do what this mapping file does is essentially it keeps track of all your object IDs and ensures that when the new site is created, all the cross-project links and references are retained, because it now maps the old links to the new object IDs. So that is what this mapping file does, and it is stored, it is created within the shared storage target, and it disappears after the restoration process is complete. So this is again, this drop down is the list of targets, this list of all S3 compatible targets that are available. You can pick one among the targets that you configured as the shared storage target. And the destination is something that you configure as a source today, meaning you follow the same process as adding a source. So I'll just take a step back. So this is my source, and for the purposes of this demo, I created this destination site. So both of these appear in the source, and the process I followed was exactly the same. I just add a new source, but this is going to be my destination. So this is my source and this is my destination. I have it both configured, and note that the destination must be empty. It cannot contain any data apart from the default data. Only then the recovery process is going to be successful. That is our recommendation. So once you're done with adding a shared storage target, and once you're done configuring your destination and adding it in this list, you have an option to edit the data movers that are going to be involved. It's up to you if you want to increase or decrease. And you click save, and recovery plan is in place. And this recovery plan it covers all entities, meaning every single space, everything within your Jira site is going to be included as part of this recovery plan. But in case if you don't want to include some spaces, and if you just want to be selective around which spaces, if you have 20 or 30 spaces, and if you just want a recovery plan to exist for 10 among those, you go to entity selection. And the process of fulfilling this up, it's pretty much the same, except that there is a next step where you are shown the list of all spaces that exist within your Jira environment, within your current source Jira site. So you can choose which site you want to cover as part of this recovery plan, and you can add it. And then you can click save, and you can see that the cross project metadata and global configuration are added by default, because those are needed for you to actually have a site that is ready to use after recovery. So once that is done, you have a restore plan in place. So when a disruption happens, whenever it happens, you can just come here, select the source, and hit restore source, and you have your plans listed here, whatever your DR plan is, and you can hit select the one, and you can hit restore, and your destination site is going to have all data that you've selected as part of the restore plan that is coming from the source. And this is going to be ready to use, because like I told, the mapping the shared storage space where the mapping file does all the job in terms of retaining the cross-project links and references, make sure that the new site is ready to use. So that is really the core idea, the core principles behind DR. So when you want to recover a full Jira site to a new destination, we've got a process in place for that, and you can leverage that in terms of in times of disruption. And the other thing that I wanted to highlight was, now we are capable of providing an output like this. This is the local build, this is coming from my system, my PC, as you can see from the link. So this is something that you can do with your backups. If you have your backups protected in our cloud, we can do this for you. And this is Jira and this is Confluence. We can do this both for Jira and Confluence. So at times of outages, when particularly for Confluence, like we've seen our customers having their troubleshooting guides and how-to guides and all those sort of critical information stored in Confluence. And when outage happens, we want our customers to be able to access those critical information that resides in Confluence. So if Atlassian goes down for a matter of few days, we enable our customers to still go and access their Confluence by leveraging the backups that they have in place, and we provide a human readable form of backups. So we have this process in place. We are trying to get it into hands of the customers. You can see that the formatting is retained, that the attachments are there, and there are options for you to search for and filter, and all those sort of options are here. If you are using Jira again, you can choose to filter by types. You can use to filter by status, and you can just look at the epics, just look at the tasks, just look at the stories alone. And within the stories, you have all your subtasks, your attachments, and everything basically that is coming, that was in Jira, is actually present here. So your teams, even if your Atlassian is down, even if Jira and Confluence are not accessible for whatever reason, you can ensure that your teams are not in a place where they are completely locked out of their Atlassian and Confluence I mean to say Atlassian and Jira data. So this is something that we built recently, and it should be available for all our customers. If you want this capability, you can talk to your account managers or customer success managers and have this in place. This is not something that we are charging anything or anything like that. If you have valid Jira and Confluence protection in our cloud, you should be able to get this done. But give us a couple of weeks, and we are trying to get this into the hands of our customers at the earliest. And we should be able to, our customer success managers and account managers should be able to help with you if you get in touch with them. So that's it really. Let me know if you have any questions. And here are a couple of things for you to take home. You can download our latest data sheet if you are interested in doing, like, learning all about our Atlassian offering and understanding how it works. You can choose to download this data sheet, or you can also go for a free trial. And let me know if there are any questions. Okay. Okay, I don't see any questions. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Tim. If you have any questions, please make sure to write to us. And thanks for the opportunity, for giving me the opportunity to present to you all. I really wish you uh, all a great time wherever you are. Good evening. Thank you.